once again, sitting down for another grilling session. Episode 3. Wonder how many of these we can do. Maybe to infinity and beyond, like the once, well, he's still great. The great Buzz Lightyear once said, to infinity and beyond. Looks like we had a little name change in here. Looks like the podcaster formerly known as College Sports with Jonathan Lewis is now Neckbeard Sports. And you done changed your name about as many times as, well, Twitter's only done it twice, right? So you're right up there with Twitter, X, whatever. Bowels of Pluto, Bowels of Neckbeard. But I'm just going to come in here tonight and talk some college football. Just want to come in here and shoot the shit with everybody. And we'll let y'all push the program here if you want to. You can make a little comment. And there's a little money dollar sign at the bottom down here if you want to make a comment and get me to read it out above everybody else's. Just click on that little money dollar sign and it'll highlight it and put it to the top. And make sure you type the comment out first and then hit send. And we already got a bunch of people up in here already. Give it a little bit of a time to marinate in here. Get a few people in here. We got John Ritchie in the house. Fred Bagley's in the house. Neckbeard Sports is in the house. Teresa Moser's in the house. So far we got a few people in here already ready to talk some college football. But I saw something on CBS Sports that it made me feel a little warm inside. I'm gonna bring it up for y'all real quick. We might have a few guests later on. Neckbeard might pull his thumb out of his ass long enough to get on here, and then might have Johnny Johns on here, and I forget the name of his. I think his name is Sooner Magic Brothers podcast. We might have him on here later as well, and maybe we can get Michael Parks to come in here if he wants to be in here. He's a Longhorn fan. Maybe we can get them to go ding ding like Killer Breeze and Numbskull News did once upon a time. What do you think? Like to see some Longhorns and some Sooners face off before the season starts? Later in the show, you might see that shit. You never know what you're going to see up in here. But let me present this to y'all real quick, as the button says. Go down here, share screen. There we go. It says right here in the middle, as you can see. Y'all can see that right there. It says college football 25 rankings. Colorado is overhyped. Well, damn. Doesn't that just hurt your feelings that CBS is starting to catch on to what we already knew? The common Joes and common cells in the know, even more so than all many talking heads. That's our motto. That's right. I need to put a patent on that shit. But it says here we're less than 2 weeks away from the release of EA Sports College Football 25. It comes to the end of the 11-year drought, and the buzz has been palpable as the long dormant college football game community awakes from its slumber. The first game play trailer has garnered 2.9 million views. So that new game is finally coming out. And I'm looking to see where they're. Here it is. Colorado hype train running amok. When I first saw the team ratings in college football 25, I was shocked to find Colorado at number 17. I don't think it's a massive problem, but I thought Colorado would come in just outside the top 25. As most of us that know college football, the common Joes and common cells, and know college football. And, yeah, they're not going to finish in top 25. I'm going to go ahead and save y'all the worries about that. What you need to worry about is if you're a Colorado fan is whether they're going to win 4 games again or not. I don't think they're going to win more than 2 or 3 games this year. The Buffaloes have had 2 of the best players in the sport, Travis Hunter and Deion Sanders. I disagree with that. But the majority of the roster is a mystery. Yeah, you can't win a game with 2 players. You saw what happened to Travis Hunter last year. He was in too many plays. He was exposed too much, and he ended up getting what? Injured, as I said he would. Colorado lost a large chunk of its roster to the transfer portal this offseason, and there are question marks around Deion Sanders' program. Hence why Colorado is picked to finish 11th in the Big 12 preseason poll. I see these preseason polls have them ranked 11th in the Big 12, which is really the Big 16, by the way. People in the Big 12 and the Big 10, they want to talk about how Southern people are sort of stupid, and they can't even count. Both these conferences have not had 12 teams in quite some time. Change your damn name. Still, we have to remember this is a video game. The Buffalo star power has to be factored in, justified, blah, 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 blah. Feel sorry for Deion Sanders, blah, blah, blah. You can't see me. Bring the Louis, all that good stuff. I need to get me some glasses on real quick so I can sort of get my Deion look. Y'all like that? I'm going to get me some Deion Sanders glasses. I'm going to put these on when I just don't want to see anything. Because I think that's why he wears them, is he just don't want to see people. He don't want to deal with the pressure. So he puts the sunshades on and hopes that he can hide behind that and hide from his bullshit that he's been spouting for quite some time. We got Sinsta is in the house. Sinsta 21's in the house. Teresa Moser has come back to the posse. I just got to get her saddled up, get her mounted up. Well, that sounds a little vulgar. My bad, Teresa. Anyway, we need to get you a horse and get you a badge and get you in the outlaw posse. I won't say none of the other stuff that can be misconstrued into something else. EA's coming on with Colorado weird hype train. Exactly. Neckbeard Sports says, Neckbeard Sports has got his badge, by the way. If you want to get your badge and get deputized like him and Fred Bagley, all you got to do is hit that join button next to the subscribe button. It's $2.99 a month, 75 cents, just 75 cents a week. That's just a bottle of water. Kevin Harris, if you're listening, that's just a bottle of water for the outlaw a week. It's not going to break your ass. And you'll get your badge, you get deputized, you get a random Four Horsemen shout out on the actual podcast, as well as possible be the comment of the day. But Neckbeard says they get a harder schedule and they're supposed to get better. Exactly. And they lost a bunch of players in the transfer portal because they come over there and they saw that Deion was full of, for lack of a better term, shit. He's just full of himself, man. He's all about him and his son. He's all about playing daddy ball. Shadur was at a rap concert, and he was going to be a guest rapper with some famous rapper. I can't remember his name. Maybe y'all can drop it in the comment section. And he told the players at Colorado they need to come out and support Shadur and come to the concert and yada, yada, yada. And it pissed a few of them off, and I believe he's getting a little bit of karma now. He's done had a bunch of them transfer on him after, getting a bunch of transfers to come with him or going hardcore in the transfer portal his first year. Yeah, Nakia Webb's in the house. Is that Real Outlaw Live in the flesh? Yes. I'm here. Yeah, that's right. You just tuned in 20 seconds before you name dropped me. That's right. I sure did. I name dropped you. You never know whose name I'm going to drop on here. Yeah, we might even have our first celebrity guest before long. Rumor has it, you think you know me. Adam Copeland, a.k.a. Edge, may decide to come over here and be the rated R superstar on this very show very soon. Adam Copeland sent me that New Orleans hat right up there. That's right. Yeah, I bet you did. I sort of knew, man. I didn't even know you was in here, man, but I just got psychic abilities. That's why I can predict all these football games right. That's why I was telling everybody about Oklahoma and Texas coming to the SEC before anybody knew. I'm not just making that up. You can ask Neckbeard Sports. I'm just saying, everybody makes a big deal out of Greg Flugar or whatever that guy's name is that Kuz likes a lot. They make a big deal out of him calling the UCLA USC thing. I call it the Texas Oklahoma thing. How you like me now? Is the great Toby Keith once said. Thank you for being one of the very few to be so welcoming of my Sooners, brother man. Oh yeah, I've become an Oklahoma fan. And once upon a time, Oklahoma fans didn't like me too much, but that was it was pre-grill days before I threw Tebow. If y'all don't know who Tebow is, I'm not talking about Tim Tebow. The correct spelling of this Tebow is T-B-O-W. That's the bitch out west, referring to Lincoln Riley, a.k.a. Linky Boy, old Stinky Linky. Oklahoma fans hated me. I don't think they hated me. Did they hate me? Really? Did they really hate me, Jonathan? I was just telling a parable, man. I was just telling a little short story, man, and they got mad at me because I was telling a story about the dog mascot that Oklahoma went and got from Mexico. It's called Cuchu, something. It's called Cuchu, but they never translate it. And come to find out, Cuchu meant mutt. So they're the Sooner Mutts. I started calling them Sooner Mutts. They got mad at me. I was just playing. Can't someone just play around these days? People get so pissed off and shape. I don't understand it. I just don't get it. Man. But yeah, that was something I thought y'all would find interesting about the one they call Con Time, Deion Sanders. That's what I call him, Con Time. They also had some other big news on here. Let me bring it up real quick. As you can see right here, Nebraska had an assistant that resigned for whatever reason. He stepped aside for personal reasons after working with Matt Rule for numerous years. Not sure what that's all about. Maybe our Nebraska contingent here, we do have a few Nebraska people that come in here from time to time. Maybe they can tell us why this guy stepped away at such an odd time. Coaches don't usually resign this time of the year. Recruiting is really heating up. Ohio State lands 5-star linebacker Pettyjohn to bolster their class. It says here Pac-12 officials are looking for work amid their dissolution. Anybody got a job for the Pac-12 officials out there? Oregon lands their highest ranked commit in school history. That's another thing. Everybody talks about Alabama and about in Ohio stank and all these teams going there and taking Lincoln Riley's shit. But Oregon's been taking their shit for quite some time. That's why they didn't want Oregon in the conference, in the Big Ten. And then the Big 12 went and took 4 teams from the Pac-12. So then the Big Ten said, well, we won't look like we have as much blood on our hands at this point. So we'll now go over and get Oregon and Washington anyway. USC was absolutely, unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, trying to get away from Oregon. Oregon's been taking their shit for a while, and they're continuing to do so. Not just in the state of California, but now on a national level, as Oregon has a pretty highly ranked class, as I'll show y'all in just a second. The most represented teams in here so far have been Alabama, Oklahoma, Oregon, the Texas Longhorns, or Long Turds, as we call them now, and the LSU Tigers. I got all their recruiting info pulled up at the top here. Big 12 coaching rankings, Utah's Kyle Whittingham is number 1. Y'all agree with that? And right down here, you can see it says if dream signing classes pan out, who finishes number 1? So basically, Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State are leading right now to get that number 1 spot. A lot of people thought that Kalen DeBoer could not recruit to Alabama at the rate that he needed to, and it seems like Kalen DeBoer he's doing just fine. He's actually doing a lot better than people thought, him being from the West Coast and whatnot. See what all is up in here. Like I said, if y'all want to get your comment read out, if you got something you want me to really address, click on the little money dollar sign at the bottom, write your comment out, and then hit send. That way you get your money's worth, and it'll push it to the top. It'll highlight it, and I will read it out for you. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring Double J in here. I'm gonna start calling him Double J. That sounds like a rock star because he is a rock star. Johnny John's in the house. Double J.
What's up, man?
Double J's in the house. What's up, Double J?
Oh shit! Finally getting to come on. I haven't been much of a rock star the last couple times. I go to bed at like 4 a.m. when I'm not being a rock star.
Yeah, but you got a real job, man. I ain't got a real job.
Dude, it's the most un-rock star job you could have, you know. But on my better days, I'm playing shows in Los Angeles. And believe it or not, I was down there, and I couldn't believe how many USC flags that I didn't see out there. I seen Texas fans out there. I seen Alabama fans out there. Ran into a couple OU fans out there. And I thought, dude, I guess that explains why there's, only like not recruiting. And I guess that explains why there's like a quarter of their stadium filled up.
Nobody wants to live in that state anymore. Nobody wants to live in that state anymore, man. It's right. Down here at the University of Alabama, I do Uber on the side, and I have a lot of students who are from California. They said they left there because of all the BS that's going on in that state politically.
Yeah. So, and you remember all the stuff that was being said like a year and a half ago? With the NIL, we're going to own college football, and, they were going to be the Mecca. And why would these kids not want to live out here where the weather's beautiful every day and where it's like you can make all this NIL money with the LA media market? And who would want to live in a place like Tuscaloosa, and who would want to live in a place like Norman, Oklahoma? Well, I'll tell you who wants to live in a place like Tuscaloosa. The top fucking top 2 class every year. That's who wants to live in Tuscaloosa, Alabama over LA or Miami. That was another school that was supposed to take over. If that was the case, all the NFL and NBA teams in Miami and LA would be the best teams every year. If that was truly the case, where only people want to live there, how come Miami and LA don't have the best pro teams every single year? Right?
Right. Well, see, once upon a time, back in the Magic Johnson days, I might be a little older than you, so you may not remember that. But it was Hollywood, man. It was.
Oh yeah.
It was a good place to go, And I think the real downfall of it started when O.J. Simpson went out there and killed the hell out of some people and drove down the freeway in a Bronco. But he did do that, by the way. I don't care what anybody says. He absolutely killed.
Yeah.
But you go down the streets, man, and there's people shitting in the streets. It's just like San Francisco. And they don't believe in having police. I think out there they try to defund the police. I don't know if that's California or just Minnesota, but it's just not a good place to live anymore. The stadium, the USC stadium, is over in a bad neighborhood. So nobody wants to get that crap, man. Nobody wants to be feeling like they're going to be attacked by somebody or having to step over human feces to get to class. So,
I think you were one of the ones that said in one of the videos before, you're like, it's real good weather. You just got to watch where you walk. You may step on someone's shit.
Exactly. Why go to California beaches when you can come down here to the south and go to the Florida beaches?
Yes.
Northern Florida is called L.A., but as in Lower Alabama.
Yes.
We own Northern Florida as far as recruiting goes. Might just annex it into the state of Alabama, but Northern Florida's beaches and even further down, man, their beaches are great, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, they are. I've been to LA a couple times and played, and not only do you got to watch where you walk because you'll step in shit, but I mean, there's homeless people all over, and they do not like, oh my bad, move their legs while you're walking by. You can be walking by with your wife and kids, and they don't give a shit, dude. There'll be a guy over there with his pants down, passed out on the sidewalk, right where everyone's walking. You just got to step over the guy, and they're all over the place out there.
Well, they get mad if you step on their shit that's on a public sidewalk. They act like it's their property, like it's their land. Like they claimed it or something.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, I know. I know Alabama, dude. Your guy, dude, he's killing it in recruiting right now.
Yeah, I was fixing to bring some of that up right now. As a matter of fact, it's funny you brought that up because I'm going to bring up Alabama's, Oklahoma's, Oregon's, Texas, and LSU tonight. Those are the teams that are on fire right now.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that because they're my team. I'm bringing you here as an unbiased person. You're even saying yourself that he's on fire. So
yeah, he is,
before
man.
anybody starts throwing shade at me, I'm not just saying this because they're my team. It says here their overall rank right now is number 2. Nobody thought that Kalen DeBoer could come from the West Coast and be this good this quick. Composite ranks number 2 and transfer rank is number 3.
Right. So being completely unbiased, my true opinion on him is I thought, dude, he's a good coach, and it's not like you have to wonder, hey, is he capable of getting a team, to compete for a national championship? He's already got a team to the national championship, and he's already proved. And honestly, dude, if he had a roster, it was a little bit more talented than Washington's roster, he probably wins the national championship. Now you put him with all of Alabama's talent, and they got loads of talent, dude. And now the other people who hate Alabama, or they're just not being honest with themselves, they're, oh, well, he ain't going to be able to recruit like Nick Saban. Well, he is. So they're still a problem. And if people think they're not, they're going to be disappointed.
Here's something that I didn't take into account as an Alabama fan. I knew he was going to stay around and have his own office, but they've actually got Nick Saban on an advisory role as whatever he's meant to advise on. He can advise you on how to take a bowel movement. It don't matter. He's in there, and they're paying him $500,000 a year. So you not think Nick Saban's actually helping this guy recruit?
I wouldn't be shocked if he is. I know Bob Stoops stayed around Oklahoma for a long time. He may still kind of have his hands on the program even now, but he was there to take over the wheel if anything went wrong, and he helped recruit. He even during COVID came out and helped coach. There was a week where we had some coaches that were out. It may have been it was some coaches on our defensive side of the ball. And they had it in the paper. Bob Stoops, is he coming out of retirement to help out? And so I wouldn't be shocked if the same thing is going on with Nick Saban at Alabama. And the way that the recruiting is continuing to go like it is, I wouldn't be shocked. Bill Snyder at Kansas State, he was the same way. After he retired, he was still very much involved in the program. He just he just wasn't called the head coach anymore. But he was still very much involved in the program. And I think that is something else that a lot of people aren't thinking about for sure. But, there was a guy that put out, I've seen some unnecessary, like if you say something like that's true, then I'm cool with it. But when someone says something that's bullshit, like this guy, he had just put out a deal, and he's putting out like everybody's records, and he said like OU's is going to be 7-5, and then he did Alabama's, and he said they were going to be 6-6, and they don't have Nick Saban now, so they're just going to completely fall apart. And someone's like, dude, when's the last time Alabama ever went 6-6? That's not something that happens very often. Even when it wasn't Nick Saban coaching, that's something that don't happen very often. And I'm like, dude, with Kalen DeBoer, you're really being honest with yourself. I don't think I would take any other coach in the SEC over Kalen DeBoer, except for, I guess, Kirby Smart. I mean, I would take Kalen DeBoer over Brian Kelly. As bad as I hate to admit it, I'd take him over Brent Venables, even though he's my guy, because he's proven he can get a team, win a conference, get a team to the playoff, and beat other good teams. He beat that Oregon team twice. That was a damn good team. And that Oregon team had better talent than him, probably.
He also beat Steve Sarkisian twice.
He beat Steve Sarkisian, Lincoln Riley, and Dan Lanning. 3 coaches that a lot of people got a lot of respect for. Even Lincoln, I mean, as much as we hate him, he was known as a quarterback guru and all that. And that's the other deal with Kalen DeBoer. He can coach quarterbacks, dude. They're going to continue to recruit great quarterbacks while he's there.
All right, I brought up the Oklahoma commits, or not their commits, but their ranking right here. Overall rank for 2024, they got them at 12th, but their composite is 8, and their transfer rank is 20. which is still pretty good, especially the composite. They're still in the top 10. And that says a lot for a guy that come in with his hand tied behind his back, that he's kept Oklahoma in the top 10 recruiting each and every year for the past 3 years, while Lincoln Riley hasn't made the top 10, but maybe I think he made it once in his 3 years.
Right. Dude, yeah, I think last year, I think may have been the one, I think his first year we were 10th, then the next year after that, the one with Jackson Arnold, I think we were like maybe 4th, and then the transfer portal made it like a little, maybe 8th or something like that. And then the one this year was not as good as the other two. It was ranked a little bit higher, but Brent Venables said he thought it was the most important class because all the defensive linemen he got, and the David Stone and the Danny Okoye and the Jaden Jackson. I think those two guys are going to be really good. David Stone's the one that's supposed to be the shoe-in and all that, but it is wild how David Stone's the 5-star. Jaden Jackson, when we signed him, he was a 3-star, and I think he got bumped up. He's another one of those guys that's like a 4-star on a couple, like on Rivals or maybe the composite. He's a 4-star, but then if you look at On 3, he's a 3-star. Or if you look at the 247 regular, he's a 3-star. Which we have a lot of guys that are like that. They'll be a 4-star on one or two of them, and then they're a 3-star on the other. Well, Jaden Jackson clearly looks like he's more college football ready than the 5-star David Stone. And it could just be I've heard David Stone's put on some weight. I do think it looked like he needed to kind of bulk up. Like he wasn't like some of the other 5-star linemen I've seen where they just come out and they're ready right out of high school. But, yeah, he got Danny Okoye, Jaden Jackson, David Stone, and, Nigel Smith was another one that was pretty good. But, yeah, we finally got defensive linemen, and we haven't. And to be honest with you, man, that's been what Oklahoma, that's been what we've been lacking for a while. Like, if you're really being honest with yourself as an Oklahoma fan, and I asked myself, like, dude, when is the last time Oklahoma truly had a roster that was talented enough to compete with Georgia's and Alabama's, and I guess you could throw Ohio State in there. They've got a talented roster too right now. Oregon's got a talented roster, but when's the last time Oklahoma had one that was talented enough like that? And the 2017 season was the last one that I could think of where I felt like we had a chance. And even that team, that was a team that Lincoln Riley inherited. Like, Bob was still the coach in the spring game. So, April of 2017, Bob's still the coach. I want to say it may have been like June or July when he retired. So, literally a couple months before football season, Lincoln Riley inherits this team that was good enough to beat Ohio State. Went toe-to-toe with Georgia, who was a really good team that year. I think Georgia, Bama, and Oklahoma were all three really even that year. But right now,
just off the air, but I believe, I'm not doing this to kiss y'all's ass or anything. I truly believe that Bob Stoops had coached that team, that y'all probably would have won the national championship. Y'all probably would have beat Georgia, and y'all likely would have beat Alabama.
Hey, the one way I could agree with that is if we would have had a close enough game with Alabama to where they keep Jalen Hurts in there. Because if it would have been a thing where we got a lead on Alabama the way we did at Georgia, we have had issues with quarterbacks who can throw the ball and scramble pretty well also. I feel like he would have came in there and torched our ass, and it would have been similar to what happened to Georgia unless Jalen Hurts would have stayed in there. I think we could have done just enough to maybe win it. But Jalen Hurts, he was a talented quarterback too, though, so who knows. But yeah, we'll never know who would have won that game, but I think that was the last year that we were definitely anywhere close to Bama and Georgia and the top dogs,
Bob Stoops' defenses have been slipping a little bit.
They were, yeah.
But he still had enough defense of foresight to know that you got to at least have a modicum of a defense and hold someone under 30 points. If Oklahoma can hold people under 30 points, they win the national championships. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's not asking for a shutdown defense. That's not asking for much, man.
Right.
So, and that stupid ass squib kick is what cost y'all the game.
Oh,
I
God.
believe that shit. That one play. They say there's always one or two plays that you can point to in a game, and I think that's the one.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know where. Like, I know he was a rookie head coach at the time, but I don't know what in the hell he was thinking on that, man. Like, I don't know. We had a kicker that could kick it out of the end zone, man. So I don't even know. I don't know why he didn't just kick it out of the end zone.
Georgia had a decent return guy, but he wasn't like Rocket Ishmael or some shit. Showing my age,
right?
But let me read this highlighted comment real quick. Big Cojones Kelly's been a member for 7 months as a posse member. He wants to tell everybody to like, share, subscribe, add, and multiply. Appreciate that, Big Cojones Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't mind, jump out of the chat here. It won't take you but 5 seconds, and hit that like button, and it'll push the algorithm for me and Double J here.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, another thing that I seen the other day, and if somebody says something about my team, dude, and it's true, I'm not gonna argue with them and tell them it's not when it is. But like, I'm never the OU fan that's gonna say, "Oh, we're gonna go into the SEC and dominate." And I've seen Texas fans doing that, dude. They're the rest of the SEC is getting to see what we have seen for years with Texas fans. They are delusional. In my opinion, they are the Dallas Cowboy version of college football. They've got all the resources.
Well, hell, they're in Texas, man. What do you expect?
Right. I know.
I'm just playing. I love Texas, man. I wish I could move down there.
I love partying there.
I lived down there a couple of weeks with Neckbeard, and lived in San Antonio, man. San Antonio is a great city. I like it.
I've played a show down there, man. I had a good time down there.
I need to go to one of your shows, man. I really want to go to one of your shows, man. I had a friend of mine that used to have a band, and he used to go around and play the local bars here, and I used to follow him around and shit like his groupie. But right. I used to be sort of withdrawn a little bit, and he got me on the dance floor one night, and then I lost my shyness.
Right,
chilling out with him. Yeah, he actually went to Nashville and played at Tootsie's. He ended up going up there and playing for a little while because a lot of people go to that bar. It's pretty iconic. That's where a lot of people got their start, like Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson, and I think Willie Nelson got his start there. I can't remember, but
yeah, it's like the Whiskey A Go-Go of Nashville.
It's so damn small though, man. It's so small. It's so cramped in there.
Yeah,
at Tootsie's. I don't know if you've been there or not, but.
Well, that's how the whiskey is too, man. On TV, it looks like it's a much bigger place, and then you get there and you're like, "What the hell? Is this actually it?" Like, and we even recorded a video there, and the video we recorded, it looks bigger. Like,
that's right.
But yeah, it's crazy. Some of those places that a lot of those famous people, first started playing at, you go there, and you're unimpressed. They're not what you think they are, But the history at those places is why they don't tear them down. They will keep them up forever.
Thunder OU Center, he's pretty much got perfect attendance. He's always in here. He says he wished Bob had retired in 2018. I suspect that's the year after what we were talking about. Did Lincoln Riley make that run to the Georgia game in 2017? Yeah,
it was 2017. And then 2018 was the year we played Bama, and that was a game where people Google the final score and they see it was like a 10-point or 11-point game, and they think it may have been kind of a good game. But that was like Van Diesel in the Fast and the Furious. Dude, you never had me. You never had your car. We never had Alabama in that game. We never had our car. We were never going to be able to beat them or Clemson or whoever out Georgia. We never had our car. They got up to a 28-0 lead. Maybe they kind of took their foot off the gas, and then Kyler Murray. That's the thing about the OU team in 28, like with Lincoln Riley teams. We did have players that were good on offense, like CeeDee Lamb. He was the one guy that I watched, and I'm like, dude, he is one of the few players on this roster that is on the level of the Alabamas and the Georgians. Like, he was the only guy that went out there and was like on their level. And then Kyler Murray, of course, was good, but he's the one who kind of, which same thing happened to us against Texas that year, the first game. We were getting our ass whooped by them by a couple scores, 2 or 3 scores, I think. And then Kyler Murray came back and tied the game, and then we ended up still losing it by a field goal. Well, when we were playing Alabama, I was thinking, God, that'd be nice if we could get lucky and make this a game, and they did get it within like 11 points, but we never had them. We never had a car. I'll tell you something funny. I see you got Texas's.
I want to show y'all. I know y'all really want to hear this, but it says Texas is ranked number 5 overall in 2024, a composite rank of 6, and a transfer rank of 6. So in the composite rankings, them and Oklahoma are pretty close. For people that think that Texas has got a huge leg up on Oklahoma already, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it in the rankings. I don't see it anywhere except, the fact that Texas made the playoffs last year and Oklahoma didn't.
Dude, yeah, you are preaching to the choir, man. I'm glad you brought this up. I seen a video where this guy, and it's been going around, you've probably seen it, where the guy's like, sorry, Oklahoma, you're not going to be Alabama. You're not going to be Georgia. He should have stopped right there, but then he said, I could understand that. If you say we're not going to be Alabama or Georgia, that's fine. That's fair, because we've played them 2 teams. We haven't been able to beat them. Them 2 teams not only have been able to beat us, but they've been able to win multiple championships. But then he kept going, and he said, you're not going to be Texas. What? Like, you're putting Texas on the level of Alabama and Georgia because they went to the playoffs one time and they won the conference, finally won the Big 12 title that OU was able to win like every other year. You know what I mean?
It ain't like they've done something that nobody else had done before.
Right, and then they get credit for getting lucky, and they beat Alabama while Alabama was in the middle of still figuring their shit out. Alabama, the first few weeks of the season, they didn't quite have it together yet, and the team that they ended up becoming isn't what they were when Texas played. If they were, I'd do anything if Alabama and Texas could have rematched each other. So Texas gets a fluke-ass win against Alabama, which no doubt they did win the game. But they just take that as if that is, like they get credit for that win against Alabama. However, Oklahoma doesn't get any credit for beating Texas. And I'm like, okay, so y'all call ours a fluke win, even though we beat them like 5 of the last 7 times or 6 times. I mean, pretty sure we beat them 19, 20, 21, not in 22, 23. Okay, so I know we beat them at least 4 plus Big 12 title game, 18. 5 of the last 6 games we have beat Texas. So, but that one's a fluke. They'll call that one a fluke. So, yeah, I don't know how Texas is supposed to be SEC ready when they haven't even been Oklahoma ready. And then you pull up the recruiting here. I had a Texas fan the other day argued with me. He goes, dude, we're not the Charlie Strong, Tom Herman, Texas. You guys are not going to keep beating us like you've been. Y'all can throw up all these records of how y'all beat us the last 5.
But y'all did beat them. Y'all beat them last year.
I know. That's what I told him. I said, dude, the only time y'all been able to beat them.
Y'all already beating them. What are they talking about?
Right. I said, dude, the only game y'all was able to win was the one where we had a depleted roster and literally a tight end playing quarterback, dude. Like, y'all, that was like a bowl game where that team has like 25 opt-outs and they've got a running back playing quarterback or, a tight end playing quarterback, and you kick the dog shit out of them in a bowl game. And then you brag about it when everybody knows they didn't hardly have any of their players. We had lost a bunch, and I know it's not an excuse. They did beat us, but, dude, that's the only year y'all been able to beat us. And then they did beat us. We played them twice in 2018. They did beat us in 2018. And that was the last time, other than the 2022 game where we didn't have a quarterback. That was the last time. So, yeah, 6 of the last 8 games OU's won.
Well, they lost.
And
They claimed that game, and I guess they did. I guess they're not really telling a lie, but they said they had like 4 or 5 turnovers that allowed y'all to win that game. That was the only reason.
Yeah, they did have 3 turnovers. That is true, but one of them they got lucky and got it right back because we had like a block punt or something like that. So one of them kind of got canceled out, and then there was something else that where it kind of. But yeah, we did. We had 3 turnovers, and it's kind of. I mean, we also lost our star receiver when we were up 27-17, but. Yeah, this guy says, what's the name of the band? It's called Next Halen. It's a Van Halen tribute band.
Yeah, I think he was talking about the band I was talking about that I went to see.
Oh, okay. Right.
The band I went to see, that the friend of mine that sort of brought me out of my shell it was called Sundance.
Right.
But what is the name of your band again?
Next Halen. It's Van Halen. If you just Google Van Halen tribute band from Oklahoma, it'll pop right up.
Next Halen.
Yeah.
Where are y'all playing at next? Halen.
Our singer. The next one is we got one in Chickasha, and then we got one in Conroe, Texas, and then I believe the next one after that's in Oklahoma City, and then we have one in Lubbock, Texas. We mostly play Oklahoma and Texas, but we do play Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Kansas, California.
Get y'all down here to play in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, dude, I'd love to play Tuscaloosa.
College girls eat y'all up, man.
Yeah, that's how it is in Lubbock, Texas, too. But, yeah, like our singer, man, he has, like, the David Lee Roth hair, and he wears, like, the assless pants, the chaps, just like David Lee Roth. Now, the guitar player.
As long as he's not liberal like David Lee, he'll be all right.
No shit. He's a nut, bro.
I know that damn John Cougar Mellencamp really let me down, man. He got on stage and got mad at some people. He was giving his political views, and they told him to shut up and sing because he was a Biden supporter. And he basically quit playing, man. He just walked off the stage and wouldn't play anymore.
Wow.
That really let me down, man, because I've always liked John Cougar Mellencamp, you know?
Right. I know Tommy Lee. I've always liked him, dude, and he's definitely, like, I don't know if he still is. I know he was the last election. I don't know how anybody's still supporting. I'm in the middle like you are, dude. I'm not 100% either one. But after that debate, dude, I don't know how I not only don't want that guy to be the president, Joe Biden, the next 4 years, but, I mean, I'm concerned about the next 5 months with him. I mean, I know that people's going to bitch if I get into politics, but he
ain't been president for the last 2 or 3 years, man. He probably was good for
that.
That was it. He's been puppeteered and pushed around by Jill Biden and Kamala Harris and the Obamas. That's just another term for the Obamas, man. That's all that is.
Right.
And as far as
you did so good, Joe.
Get pissed off and get pissed on, right?
Right. But yeah, man, the whole deal with Texas, man. Oh, another thing that was funny, man, is I'm sure you've been keeping up with it. I was talking to you about it over the weekend. USC had this linebacker, Riley Pettijohn. Highly recruited. This is the kind of linebacker that Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson 4 years ago would get this kind of guy. I want to say he was like the number 2 rated linebacker in the country, 5-star. And anyway, somehow, some way, USC fans started actually believing they had a chance to get this guy. And I'm like, oh, dude, I can't wait for this, man. This is going to be awesome. They're going to be sadly mistaken. And the look of disappointment on him. Well, of course, it comes time. I already knew, like, Texas was big time recruiting the kid. Ohio State was, and I believe A&M. And I'm like, dude, they're not going to win. They're not going to get this kid. And sure enough, it comes time, I believe Saturday, for him to announce. And they're all watching it live, hoping he's coming to USC. And, of course, he goes to Ohio State. And he made the right choice. And I'm not just saying it because
in their right mind going to go and play for Lincoln Riley, man, when he just got a new defensive coordinator. And you don't know that guy's going to be there next year, like you said in our conversations off air. We don't know that guy's going to be around. I mean, Lincoln Riley's scapegoating the hell out of people. He's never going to take defense seriously. And the USC people need to just come around to that shit and pay the buyout and swallow that pill and get rid of him. Because he's not going to stop doing the shit he's doing, man. He never learned at Oklahoma, and he just don't learn, man.
Right. But the funny thing is, they were all saying, it ain't Lincoln Riley. It's not Lincoln. Quit saying it's Lincoln Riley. It's not his fault. Da-da-da-da-da. And it's NIL. And I'm like, what? It's NIL for why you're losing all these players to Ohio State. You're losing them to Oregon, Alabama, even Oklahoma, A&M. You're losing these players, and it's not NIL. Okay. It's basically everything except the head coach. And it's like they don't want us, the people that, criticize Lincoln Riley, they don't want us to be right. Like they will walk 1,000 miles in the wrong lane before they will get into the correct lane and admit that, no, this guy is the problem. And they said it's not, it's NIL. Okay. Well, that's funny because just only about a year and a half ago, NIL wasn't a problem when you was able to get Caleb Williams to not only leave Oklahoma and go to USC, but he had all kinds of schools after him. So they had no problem. Caleb Williams wasn't just an OU USC thing. There was a bunch of schools he was a 5-star quarterback that everybody knew was probably going to win a Heisman. They were able to win him over everybody else. NIL wasn't a problem with Caleb Williams. It wasn't a problem with Jordan Addison. It wasn't a problem getting Travis Dye to come from Oregon to USC. It wasn't a problem getting Malachi Nelson, who was a 5-star, and that other running back that was supposed to go to OU and went there. He was a 5-star. Branch. You kind of see the pattern here. These are all offensive players. So they're not having a problem getting all these wide receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks. But when it comes to defensive players, somehow they have an NIL problem, but not a coaching problem, not a Lincoln Riley problem. It's an NIL problem. So you're saying your school just sucks?
Basically.
I don't understand.
Well, speaking of USC being emasculated, here's the team that's been doing it from the get-go. Nobody really talks about Oregon, but Oregon's been doing it for quite some time. That wall was never built because of the Oregon Ducks. They go down into California all the time and take shit from USC. Been doing it for almost a decade now. And as you can see here, they're ranked 9 across the board. This is a team I'm really high on this year. I'm looking for Oregon to maybe one day finally break through and win that first national championship. If they can get that one national championship, it could open the floodgates for them. They've been so close so many times, man. I think that Oregon's a team of the future in the Big Ten. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. They're a problem. I guarantee it. I've always liked them because they've kind of reminded me of my OU teams back in, especially like early 2000s. And even when we had Shithead here as our offensive coordinator and then he was the head coach, they always had these really good quarterbacks. They're always really, really fun to watch. I enjoy watching Oregon. Even when they had Chip Kelly, I loved watching Oregon. They've got cool-looking uniforms, man. And dude, they've got loads of money. I mean,
it's been building for a while. Even before Chip Kelly, they had Bellotti. And
yes.
Before that, it was Rich. What was his last name? He's the one who really started all. Oregon used to be like Kansas, man. They used to win like 3 or 4 games a year when I was a kid growing up. And the guy named Rich, I can't remember his name. He was the coach of Kentucky too. But he ended up getting them into bowl games, and then he went to coach the Rams at one time. And then Bellotti took over, and then they made the playoff game or the BCS championship game and got beat by I think it was Cam Newton. Scam, I like to call him Scam. Scam Newton beat
Was it Florida?
22-19.
Okay, it was Cam Newton or Florida State?
It was Cam. I think it was Cam Newton. Their one title, the Auburn title. Now Auburn did play Florida State a couple of years later, and then they got beat by Florida State. And
right. Yeah, you're right.
We had a 7-year streak going in the SEC. We had won 7 national titles in a row in conference. And Auburn broke the streak because they're the weak link, and that's what Auburn does, because they're a bunch of weak ass barners down there. I call them the barn monkeys.
Right. It's funny you bring that up, man. I've seen other people saying, the SEC and everyone's sporting the SEC badge, and it's really not the best conference. They just got a couple good teams. And I'm like, dude, are you fucking serious? Since 2003, LSU's won multiple championships. Georgia's won multiple. Alabama's won like 35. Yes, I'm over-exaggerating, but, they've won, 6 since – I'm talking about just since 2003.
That's right.
LSU's got a couple. Georgia's got multiple. Alabama's got 6. And then you've got Auburn that has 1. And then technically Texas is in there. They have 1 in 05. But,
the addition
Florida.
Go ahead.
Florida, they've got multiple. So there's 5 schools that's got championships, dude, just in the last – from 2003 to 23.
And Auburn's got 1 too.
Yeah, well, no, I mentioned them. They got 1, but the other 4 schools, Florida, LSU, Alabama, and Georgia, they all have multiple. Because Florida's got 1 in 06 when they had Chris Leak, and then they've also had the one against us in 08. LSU has 1 against OU in 03. Plus they had 1 07 and 2019. And then Alabama, of course, has got 6 of them. And then Auburn had the one with Cam, I want to say that was 2010 with that one. So, dude, this is 5 schools that's got national championships.
Well,
how is, you know what I mean? How is that just only 1 school that's good?
I like to point out the fact, the BCS actually began in 1998, and Tennessee won the first one. Since the BCS era, since we started having a somewhat playoff atmosphere, we've actually had 6 because Tennessee won 1.
Right after Peyton left.
From the BCS era till now, they've won 1 as well. And now with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, we got 8 former national champions with multiple titles. Multiple titles, not just 1. It's not like they got lucky and won 1. These teams have been winning national titles since the AP poll and even further back when the Rose Bowl was considered the de facto BCS game. This conference has been winning multiple national. Now with Texas and Oklahoma, man, it's just like we own the market. We're going to have to eventually get away from just adding football schools because somebody's going to lose and somebody's not going to be happy. Somebody's got to lose.
Yes, that's
it might
right.
Be my team. It might be your team. It might be, you just don't know. That's
right.
Our conference, our commissioner has said, Sankey has said that the next time he expands, he wants to expand the basketball portfolio. That's why he's thinking about going after Kansas and North Carolina in the next round of expansion.
Yeah, because like you said, dude, someone's got to lose, and we don't want to just be cannibalizing a bunch of – take all the top football programs and just let them blender each other up in a blender,
That's exactly right, and they want us to play 9 conference games so we'll beat up on each other. And they're like, you play only 8 games. Yeah, but we play a tough non-conference game every year that's just like a conference game. Alabama's going on the road to play Wisconsin. So it ain't like we don't play a tough non-conference game, so you might as well say that's 9 conference games, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, man. I went back 20 years, and I just added in my head each year who won each championship. And I realized, like, dude, there's 5 just in the past 20 years. 4 of those 5 have won multiple championships. But if you go back to when the BCS started, Tennessee, I remember it was wild because they won soon as Peyton Manning leaves. And I don't know, I'm guessing once they had Peyton Manning, they were probably able to recruit really well. And then when he's gone, they still had loads of talent and was able to win one. But
you see it happen all the time where a big star player that it's all about leaves, and they're just everybody has to come together as a team and play as a team, and they win the national championship.
Yep. Yeah. Even a Heisman Trophy, you get one Heisman Trophy at a small school like Baylor, dude. And I know they got in all that trouble, dude, and that could have totally crushed them. But they, if they wouldn't have been doing all that dumb shit and getting in trouble, who knows where they would have been right now. But they were on a roll, and they win one Heisman Trophy with Robert Griffin, and we were on the receiving.
I don't like it, dude.
Who, RG3? Yeah, I didn't like him either because he kicked our ass that one year. But
I think he might be a skittle shitter.
Oh, he's definitely a skittle shitter, for sure.
Fred Bagley has his badge. He's deputized, and Fred Bagley says that Lincoln Riley will never win until he drops the yoga instructor that he has as a strength coach. I heard about that. I don't think Fred's making that up. I think that's an actuality. I think it's actually a strength coach that do some kind of yoga crap, right?
Yeah, that's a real thing, man. And what's his name? Jerry Smith, when he went in there, I guess the first thing he did was said, "Get this shit out of here," and threw all those yoga mats. I don't know why in the hell and I mean, when you watch their defense, you can tell them dudes are doing a lot of yoga, and I'm going to be honest with you. Ever since we had gotten Lincoln and he brought his strength guy or yoga guy, our team got more and more pussy every year. Like, that's the only other way I can put it, man. We used to be the bully. Like, when we had Bob Stoops, I'm not saying we blew people out every week, but it happened. Like, if someone come into Norman, especially at home, we were really good. We went like over 10 years, maybe it may have been even 15 years without ever losing a home game. Like, I think Bob Stoops' first 15 years or 14 years, he never lost a home game, even in 99. But A&M, we beat them 77-0. We beat Texas 65-13 one year. We beat them 63-14 another year. Nebraska, who was really good in 2000, we whooped their ass 31-14, and we had even had to make a couple adjustments, dude. Right off the bat, they run this option play, and I've heard Brent Venables kind of reminisce on this season and talk about this. He's like, right off the bat, man, they run this option play, and we needed to settle down. We were overrunning the play, and right off the bat, he pitches it, boom, touchdown. And we're like, all right, we're going to have to fix that. He said, then the next play, they do it again, and we're down 14-0 to Nebraska. And all of a sudden, it's looking like, yeah, this Oklahoma team is a pretender. They're really not back. And Bob Stoops told everybody, guys, settle down. We're okay. We're all right. Y'all need to just settle down. You're overrunning the play out here. Well, we end up beating Nebraska 31 unanswered points after that. So, yeah, there was that one. And then there was the OSU come to town in early 2000. I think it was 04 or 03 maybe. And Les Miles, he said, well, one of us is a darn good team and one of us is the best team in the country. And we're going to see which one's which this Saturday. Now, he was feeling cocky because he had beat us 2 years in a row before that. Even though his team had 4 wins one year, maybe 5 another, he had beat us. So he was feeling cocky and saying one of us is the best team and one of us is a darn good team in the country. And we ended up kicking their ass 52-9. And then there was another one I remember. The loudest I've heard that stadium in Norman was 2008. Texas Tech was number 2 in the country, believe it or not, is when they had Michael Crabtree and all those guys when they were good in 2008. And they come to town, and I remember they had some mouthy fans. They were saying, we ain't Cincinnati. We ain't Cincinnati, because we had beat the shit out of Cincinnati that year. And I'm thinking, yeah, you're right. You're not Cincinnati. Cincinnati actually did a little bit better than you guys did. But they we ended up whooping their ass like it was. I can't remember the exact. The other ones I haven't memorized. I feel like it was like 65-10 or something, maybe 65-20. I mean, it was bad, but anyway, we didn't have that knockout punch with Lincoln Riley. We never could, unless it was a team like Missouri State or Arkansas State or something like the Rice. We could not whoop a team 65-13 with Lincoln Riley. Not Power 5 teams. Right. It just didn't. It didn't happen very often.
He can't put a game away.
No.
Big Honey's Kelly is his badge, and he says he thinks going forward it will be 8 conference games, at least one Power 4 conference, non-conference opponent. He's basically agreeing with what I said. If we're going to play one tough non-conference game, and we're in the toughest conference, see, and they get pissed off at me and they think I'm trolling them when I say this, but the Big Ten and the Big 12 and the ACC, they have 4 or 5 teams in that conference to me that are cupcakes. So,
right.
They're getting to play these teams that are inferior. Meanwhile, we're playing 8 tough conference games. Yeah, I know Vanderbilt is not that great, but other than Vanderbilt, everybody can beat you. And I don't just say that as a cliche, as any given Saturday kind of crap. It actually will happen. As a matter of fact, Vanderbilt beat Georgia, speaking of Vanderbilt, a while back.
Wow.
Mississippi State's 5-7, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but if Mississippi State was in the Big 12, I think Mississippi State would be a lot better than 5-7. If they were in the Big 10 or the ACC, if they were in the ACC, they'd probably be top 4. So just saying.
I agree. Yeah, it's definitely it's a whole different game, and the main reason why it's a whole different game is because of the reason you just said. I was even telling the OU fan this because he's like, dude, they're underestimating us. We're gonna kick the shit out of all these teams. I said, well, dude, they're not going to be scared of us. I don't think our team's going to be scared of anybody they play neither. But the thing of it is, you used to be able to pencil in 9 or 10 guaranteed wins, especially the last 12, 13 years. You had about 10, 11 games that were what I consider to be guaranteed wins. And the only game that, and then yes, there would be an Iowa State that you would end up losing, or a Kansas State that could beat you and you didn't expect it. But for the most part, OU would go into the season and we would be favorites to win every single game except maybe one on average. And it's not going to be that way no more. They're in the SEC almost every week. You're playing a team that is capable of beating you. Any given Saturday, any of these teams could beat you. Even South Carolina could have a good game.
Yeah.
And kick
South
your
Carolina
ass.
Beat us. When we had the little win streak going, we won a national championship. We had like a 28-game win streak, and South Carolina beat us. So,
was it back when they had Spurrier, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they were decent when they had him.
Stephen Garcia had the game of his life, man. We're bad about giving these obscure quarterbacks the game of their lives. We sort of done that with your guy at Oklahoma. He had the game of his life in the Sugar Bowl against us. So I can't remember his name, man. What was his name? Blake Bell?
Trevor Knight was the guy.
Trevor Knight had the game of his life against Alabama. And then he went to Texas A&M and shit the bed.
He did, man. He was never looked like that again. Like that guy. And you could imagine the hype train going into the 2014 season. Like, oh, this Trevor Knight, he's going to be a Heisman finalist or a Heisman candidate right out the gate. And TCU kicked our ass. And then it just went downhill from there, man. That was a really bad year. We still won like 8 games that year. But we had to play this guy that I guarantee you, a lot of OU fans probably don't even hardly remember this guy. I think his name was Cody Thomas. It's hard to believe a guy named Cody Thomas played quarterback at OU, but it's true. He played he was our starting quarterback for, last 3 or 4 games because Trevor Knight was hurt. I don't know why they didn't just move Blake Bell back to quarterback because he was still on the roster playing tight end. I would have just moved him back to quarterback. But yeah.
Can you see that comment down there? It's directed to you. The one I pulled up.
Says, thanks for supporting my thoughts on a weak conference opponents. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, here's something else I'll say. Like, there's no doubt the Big 12's been weak, and it really got weak after, like, in the 90s and early 2000s.
Oh, it was great.
Conference.
That's why I put that graphic up. That's why I said, hey, this used to be a great conference until the SEC come over and started taking their lunch money. They took A&M, they took Missouri, and at the time they wanted Texas and Oklahoma was unwilling to come, and they had all this political bullshit going on. Texas didn't want to leave Texas Tech behind for whatever reason. And Oklahoma did not want to leave Oklahoma State behind. And so the SEC wasn't willing to take Oklahoma State, and they still ain't.
Right.
I know. We tried to get you in the club, but Okie Pokey Chokey State's just not coming. I'm a man. I'm 55. Will be 70 before Oklahoma State
before
the SEC.
Right. But yeah, in 2000 and even like 2008, it was still a pretty strong conference. Like and I'll be honest with you, man. It took a while for me to admit, like, our conference was no longer a strong conference. Because when I first started getting big time into football, it was in the 90s.
About Nebraska and Colorado leaving.
Right.
Nebraska and Colorado left too. Nebraska went to the Big Ten, and Colorado went to the Pac-12.
And then Nebraska just completely fell off. And you want to know a big reason why I think Nebraska fell off? Like, not only have they had a run of not hiring the right guy, but when they left, I think they went to the wrong conference, dude. When they left, I would imagine at least 75 to 80% of their roster was made up of Texas talent.
Exactly.
And now I think their roster is less than like 25. Now with Matt Rule on staff, or as the head coach, it's probably going back up to probably not 70, 80%, but I bet it's getting closer to 50% or something. But where they screwed up is they went to the wrong conference because they were no longer playing Texas and Texas A&M and being able to recruit out of the state of Texas. And if OU would have went to the Big Ten and not played against A&M or Texas, we're much closer to that Dallas and the North Texas metropolitan area. We're actually a little bit closer to Dallas than Texas is. Houston, Texas, I think, is like a few miles further, or Norman, Oklahoma is a couple miles closer to Dallas than Austin, Texas. So we may have still been able to survive and recruit the Dallas and North Texas area, but I don't think it helps. I don't think we're able to recruit it near like we are being in the SEC, playing up against A&M and Texas every year. I really think that's what screwed Nebraska up. And Matt Rule might be able to get that back where they can start recruiting some of them.
You can't go back and do nothing about it now, but I think the real mistake they made was firing Frank Solich.
Yes.
I think that was a big mistake. They'd gotten so spoiled under Osborne. They won 3 national titles in the 90s. Probably one of the best teams I ever seen play was a Tommy Frazier team. I think it was in 94, 95. That was probably the best all-time team I ever seen play, man. They blew out everybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were fucking amazing.
They just housed Florida's ass, and now
that's what I was about to say. I was about to ask you that. Was it the team that smoked Florida?
They beat Florida like 63-24 with Spurrier.
Yep.
Now Florida did come back and win the national title the next year, to their credit, but Florida can now thank TCU for not having that stigma attached to them anymore, because TCU now holds the record for the worst ass whipping on the big stage.
I know, God.
That's for Numbskull News if he's listening. Your team holds the record for futility on the big stage. I mean, it destroyed the national title game for everybody. I was looking forward to watching a close game, and y'all just completely shit the bed from the second quarter on to the fourth quarter, man. Y'all made it a game for all of, 10 minutes maybe?
Yep.
5 minutes?
And I'm right there with you. I wanted it to be a good game. I was I hate seeing blowouts like that. I was too. Yeah, me too.
We learned a lesson about that now. We know better than root for TCU anymore, right?
Exactly. And I remember their that numbskull guy come on, and I'm like, damn, bro, I didn't even know we had any beef with TCU.
Man, you know, y'all, all these teams have beef with you, just like Alabama. All these
That's
SEC
correct.
teams won't tell you they got beef with you. But then when they get really good or they think they're getting really good, they'll start saying shit. Like TCU.
Right.
They made the national title game. They think, oh, man, I can start talking shit to Oklahoma. Even though they've owned our ass for the better part of 80 years, I'm going to start talking shit.
Right.
Just like Okie
Yeah,
Pokey. We got the trophy. We got the Bedlam trophy. Yeah, I bet y'all won't play Oklahoma again. I bet you won't schedule them in the next 10 or 15 years.
Exactly. My biggest problem I had with him is like, dude, if you for starters, I've never heard any logical Oklahoma fan, or I've never heard any, even our stupid, every fan base has some idiots, but I've never even heard our idiot fan base compare the idiot side of our fan base. I've never even heard anybody compare Bob Stoops to Nick Saban. Like, I don't know where he come up with that. Like, he's in the Hall of Fame, yes, but not every coach in the Hall of Fame has 7 national championships, because there ain't a bunch of coaches that have 7 national championships, period. And the winning, you got to only win over 60%. What was Bob Stoops? Probably over 80%, I would say, at least. Yep. I mean, I haven't looked up the exact number, but I know he won 10 to 12 games almost every damn year, other than the 2009, 2005. But and then there was the 8 wins in 2014. But other than that, the guy won 10 to 12 games every year. So he has to be over 80, close to 80%, and you only got to be 60%. And then, and yes, it would have been nice if he would have won that championship in 2003. It would have been nice if he could have pulled out the one against Florida. We was on the goal line multiple times and didn't punch it in. DeMarco Murray was hurt. Who knows what happens if we have him? They had their DeMarco Murray with Percy Harvin, and we didn't have our home run hitter.
That's right.
But it was still a pretty close game, and they ended up they delivered the knockout punch on us in the fourth quarter, and we wasn't able to deliver it on them. And then the LSU game in 2003, if Jason White doesn't throw that pick 6, we're able to win that one. And he was playing with like a broken toe or broken bone in his foot or fractured foot or some shit, and had some other kind of injury. He definitely wasn't his normal self.
Some people would say that y'all making excuses.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely excuses, but because the fact of the matter is we lost those games. Like,
that's right.
No one's going to care. But I'm not making excuses and saying, oh man, we should claim a title. I'm just saying he was this close to winning 2 more.
That's right.
You see. You know what I'm saying? Like he was this close to winning 2 more, and if he has 3 of them, then he's not considered like the Brett Favre of coaches. Brett Favre only had 1 ring, and he's no doubt a Hall of Famer, and it's because he continued to have success even after. And then he won and that's another thing, dude. When Bob Stoops was winning the Big 12 championship every year, it wasn't the Big 12 title you've seen in 2018 and 2015 and, the last 12 years. It was actually a tough conference in the early 2000s when he was winning. I'm not going to say it was what the SEC is today, but Colorado had some damn good teams. Back when Joe Klatt was their quarterback, they were winning the North quite a bit. Nebraska was still a problem back then. Texas A&M was a problem. Missouri, when they had
the Texas A&M's last conference title was when they was in the Big 12.
98.
They have yet to make a conference title game. Now Missouri went twice.
Right.
Let me give a shout out to the gallery real quick. Y'all got a question that y'all want to ask me or Double J here? Seems like everybody likes my nickname for you. He's got a question for you. He says, Double J, was that the same year Katy Perry hit on Trevor Knight on ESPN?
Yep, same year, man. And I swear that man fell off after Katy Perry said she said something about, I'm only picking this. She picked all the teams or whatever, and it got to Oklahoma, and Katy Perry said, I'm only picking this team based off of looks. Trevor Knight, call me. and she fucking picked OU to win, and then we end up getting upset by TCU. That was one of the years TCU did beat us. And but yeah, Katy Perry called him out, and that man was never the same again. It was incredible.
If y'all got a question for us, like I was saying, there's a little money dollar sign at the bottom. I can't see all the questions. So if you click on that little money dollar sign at the bottom, write your comment out, and then send it. It'll highlight it and push it to the top, and me and Double J can answer your question. You just make a small donation to the program.
He said 63 points.
63 points on a semifinal game is pretty embarrassing. Blame Tebow for that. He liked his D like his brisket, burnt.
Yeah, I know. God, that was bad.
I like that shit. He burnt.
Yeah, and that right there is the one game where I realized, dude, we are the product of a really, really, really piss poor conference. Like, that was the year I realized we're not even – it's not like, oh, well, we played LSU. We wasn't good enough. They beat us 35-21. No, now we're not even getting beat by – we went from, like, the Georgia game, we lost by 1 score. And like I said, the team got more and more pussy every year that he was there. We lose the first playoff game that he inherited a couple months before Bob retired by 1 score in overtime. And then the next year we lose to Alabama by 2 scores. And then we just start getting blown out. And then we can't even make it to the game. And then we can't even win the Big 12. That was really weak.
Michael McCullough says Numbskull News is a good name for him because he's a loudmouth, overbearing jerk.
Yeah, I know. And I felt like a dumbass for ever even taking up for TCU. I was one of the few people that took up for them. And I was one of the few people that would say, no, dude, they did belong in there. If we can't blame TCU. They did beat Texas that year. They beat Oklahoma. They beat Michigan to get into the game. They beat Kansas State, who was pretty good. They wasn't on the level of Texas, Michigan, and Oklahoma, but they're still a pretty solid team. They beat them, I think, the first game, and then they barely lost the rematch. That was their one loss. But I have said if you want to blame anybody, we can't blame TCU for beating Texas, Michigan, Oklahoma. We need to blame Michigan for losing to them, and we need to blame Texas and Oklahoma for losing to them. That should have filtered out any team getting into the natty game. That should have filtered them out and made it where you don't get that kind of a result in the national championship game. But I'm convinced it was a combination of TCU played a really, really bad game and Georgia played their best game. And
I'm changing gears a little bit. Another team, and I'm going to do this for Big Cohney's Kelly because he's our one LSU guy. He's in here all the time. He's loyal to us. Big Cohney Kelly always got our back, and just got a little LSU stuff here. That LSU's quietly sneaking up the rankings here. They're at number 6 in the composite for 2025. Mm-hmm. They just landed a 4-star edge rusher in Damian Shanklin, and also they got that defensive lineman, Zion Williams, who I think Alabama was wanting rather badly, and they beat us out for Zion Williams. So LSU is coming up the ranks. It's just tough, man, the SEC. You see all these teams in the top 10, the top 15. Basically, the SEC owns the top 15 recruiting, man. So it's just like I said, man, it's sad that you have a team that's probably good enough to win or at least be in the top 4 in the conference, and they're in this conference, they end up being 5-7 because and like LSU, for example, they could be a great team this year and end up losing 3 or 4 games.
I know, and they are going to be a good team. I got a lot of respect for LSU for sure. My little brother has a friend that's an LSU fan, and he had called him up and was like, "Dude, I got tickets." And ironically, it was tickets to LSU Alabama game. And he's like, he knew my brother was an OU fan, and me and my brother had just went to OU Texas like the week or two, maybe a couple weeks before, and he ends up going to LSU Alabama. And he said he's like, dude, and keep in mind, he had just went to OU Texas just weeks before me and him did. And he said, dude, he went with his buddy that was LSU friend, and he said that was the craziest atmosphere that I've ever seen, as far as like a game that's not like a bowl game or like a neutral site game or a conference title game. He's like, as far as just a regular season game, he's like, that was the craziest atmosphere I have ever been involved, ever seen.
Well, I think that's the biggest difference y'all gonna see when y'all come in the SEC. It's not just going and playing in these crazy atmospheres, but I think you're gonna see a big uptick in your own home games where people from the other school make the trip out there and take over some of the tailgating areas. If they can't get a ticket, they'll come up there and tailgate right outside the stadium. They'll drive all the way over there just to do that. Whereas, and I'm not taking a shot at the Big 12 people before they get pissed off, but Baylor and Kansas just don't travel well. They don't care about football as much as these other SEC schools. So the whole SEC, it means more. It does mean more. And that's why Oklahoma and Texas said that, look, we got to go. We got to go. This is our time. We got to go to the SEC. Like I said, you won't see Baylor fans traveling to Norman in droves like you would, say, in Alabama or even Ole Miss, who's a middling team usually. Ole Miss probably, hell, Mississippi State fans would probably travel to Norman,
Yeah, something. Yeah, I agree 100%. Not only we're going to see huge amounts, and I've actually was fortunate enough to go to an OU Alabama game in the early 2000s, and there was a shitload of Alabama fans even at that game. And now it's harder to tell because they literally are wearing the same damn color T-shirts that we are. So you have to, you just have to look and you see. And matter of fact, I was actually sitting right next to the Alabama quarterbacks that were warming up, and I remember I was like, dude, who is the white guy wearing number 12? Is he a walk-on? And then I was about 30 rolls up, so I wasn't close enough where I could see the helmet, I just only could see him and not see the helmet. And my dad's like, Johnny, that's Alabama. I'm like, oh my God. I'm trying to figure out who this quarterback is named Croyle. And is he a walk-on? Who is this quarterback that we have? He's got a damn good arm, but it wasn't our quarterback. It was you guys' quarterback.
But I think, in the Big 12, you probably have one or two teams that would travel well to Norman, maybe because I don't know. I've never been to Norman for a game, or I haven't been to any Big 12 games really. But you'd probably have, I would say Texas probably would travel well to a road game, but they don't play them in Norman, so it don't really matter. But like Texas, for example, would probably travel well to some shithole named Lawrence, Kansas. And I heard they're upgrading their facilities. I shouldn't be saying that, but they got the worst stadium I've ever seen in my life, man. That's got to be the biggest shithole I've ever seen in major college football. Now, Kansas State fans may travel well. I don't know nothing about Kansas State. Only you can tell me that.
They travel better than Kansas, and they travel better than like West Virginia fans. And I know they were coming from far, far away, but they're nothing compared to like even Ole Miss, even like A&M, even South Carolina fans probably, but definitely.
Hey, when y'all had A&M in the Big 12, they probably traveled well.
A&M did, yeah. Nebraska fans did, and even Colorado fans. And I remember they had them T-shirts with the middle fingers on it one year. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. Fuck you, Oklahoma, or whatever. Texas Tech fans, they showed up, and you would see some groups of them, but it isn't anything compared to what I know we're going to see out of Tennessee, Alabama, LSU, Georgia, even probably Florida Gators, I would imagine. Hell, even Auburn fans. Like, I have a feeling that, like, the 6 teams that we were talking about that's won the national title since the BCS, those 6 teams, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Auburn, those teams are definitely going to – we have nothing that – Kansas State, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, none of them come even close. Like, traveling wise, and we're going to go from going to what is it in Ames, Iowa, like a 45 to 50,000 seat stadium, and then Kansas State probably about the same, 40, 50,000. OSU 40. So we're going to go from playing stadiums that are 40, 50,000 to now going on the road and playing these stadiums where it's 90 and 100,000. You know, like that's double the seating capacity on a lot of them.
Rattled in those places easily. Even teams like Alabama can succumb to it. If you get behind and the momentum's going against you, it's hard to get back sometimes.
Right, because Alabama, y'all have almost 100,000, over 90,000 seater, I believe, right?
It's 101,000.
Oh, it's 101 now?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, I remember looking up a deal, but it's been about probably 5-10 years ago since I looked it up. But the one I looked at back in the day, it had Alabama like in the 90s. I think Florida Gators was in the 80s. But it makes me.
I think Auburn's still stuck in the 90s, but we're 101,000 strong.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I figured.
I think Tennessee's got 105, 106,000.
See, I knew Tennessee had almost 100, and
Tennessee, they have the biggest stadium in the SEC.
A&M now does, I think, because they added on to theirs, and that was like clearly overcompensation. They were overcompensating for where they lack everywhere else because they're one of the most underachieving college football programs I can think of. Honestly, I'm not just saying that; I'm being for real. That with all the resources they have, dude, they should have done so much better than what they've underachieved. They underachieved in the Big 12, and they've continued to do it every conference they've been in. But they do have some fans.
I mean, they've been emasculated by Texas for so long, man. They didn't want Texas in the conference.
Nope. They do got some fans, though, man. I do remember them traveling really well back in the day, and they like it was. I remember A&M and Nebraska, like back when we had a good conference. A&M and Nebraska was the two places that I remember being tough to play at, but both of them teams left. Colorado, I don't think their stadium suit. I feel like they only had probably 60,000, maybe. I mean,
I heard that thing was
like
in disrepair, man. They need to repair that shit or something. I heard it's in bad shape.
I bet it is.
Back in the day, man. They got the big Colorado thing behind the goalpost. I always thought that was cool as hell, where you could run up on it after a touchdown.
Right.
It's also nostalgic for me because I used to like this old TV show called Mork and Mindy. It had Robin Williams in it. And they used to run up and down that Colorado football field before the show come on. But once again, showing my age. But y'all can Google that. Mork and Mindy is a great. Robin Williams got his start there on Mork and Mindy.
He says, I've seen more UCF fans than Baylor fans in Norman the last 15 years. Yeah.
John Richard said they'd seen more UCF fans in Norman than Baylor fans. That's what I'm saying. Baylor had a few good years, and they just, I don't know, man. It's just blah. When you go down to Waco, man, it seems like it's just blah. I mean, I've never been to Waco for a game, so I wouldn't know.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad people are commenting on it also as far as like the fans and the traveling. But the fact of the matter is, dude, it's nothing compared to what we're in for this year. It's going to be freaking awesome. Tiger Stadium is 102. Yeah, Tiger Stadium's huge too.
Yep, that's what Big Conus Kelly said. They got 102,000. So, you know, there's like multiple 100,000 seat stadiums that you didn't have to deal with in the Big 12. How many seats does Oklahoma's got?
We have like a little less than 90,000. I want to say it's like 86, 87 maybe.
Now, sometimes the seating ain't always what makes it loud. I mean, like Oregon Stadium, Autzen Stadium, the way it's built, they said, the sound, you probably know more about that than me because you're a musician, but they said the acoustics of it or something makes it 10 times louder than these bigger stadiums, I guess, because it's sort of just up on the field too. So
right,
you always have to have seats to make it loud. Like, for example, Michigan Stadium is not very loud, and they got like 110,000 seats. So,
dude, the Big Ten, they have some huge stadiums down there also because, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan's is huge. I think Nebraska's is about like OU's. I think theirs is only around 90, maybe. And I've even heard they're going to take seats out at Nebraska to add like suites or something. And there has been some schools that are doing that. They're downsizing a little bit to add more of this or more of that and upgrade other areas, which, man, me personally, I'm one of them guys. I don't want us to be like A&M where we're like, well, hey, we need to have over 100,000 because Alabama, LSU, and Tennessee, they all have over 100,000. But I don't want us having 86 when all the other good teams have over 100. I hope we at least get it close to 100,000. And, I mean, we've renovated that place quite a few times over the last 20 years. It used to only –
Big Honey's Kelly said that Neyland Stadium is the biggest, so I was right about that. And he said number 2 is Kyle Field. I guess it's got, 105, 110,000?
Yeah, I thought
Alabama and LSU. Actually, I think LSU's might be a little bit bigger than Alabama's, but I could be wrong with that.
I thought when I Googled it the other day, it was Kyle Field. Number 1 was A&M, and then Bama, and then LSU. I thought, see, Bama and A&M, the reason why I Googled A&M's is because back when they were here, I swear to God, their stadium was not that big. Like, I thought it was like 60,000 or something.
Yeah, I think they just upgraded it when they got in the SEC or something. Brendan says, what's up, Outlaw Posse? Long time no see. Yeah, we ain't seen you in a while, Brendan. I have been getting a lot of people tell me they're not getting notifications for these videos for some reason, but I don't know, man. Sometimes I think that they're shadow banning me a little bit because I say some shit that they don't like. So that might be some of that. I don't know if they really care about me that much, but sometimes it is a little suspicious sometimes with some of the stuff they do on my channel.
Yeah, that definitely happens because there's times that I'm on YouTube and I'll see a message pop up saying, hey, man, we're going live. And I've subscribed to your channel, so it should let me know right away that you're doing a video, and it doesn't. And then also a lot of your videos used to pop up on my, like, you know how you just get on YouTube and you're just looking. Sometimes when I'm at work, I just let it play because I'm busy and I just got headphones in. I'm just listening to stuff to make the time go by faster while I'm running machines. But your videos used to always just play. It'd kind of be in its own rotation, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes if you subscribe to a lot of channels, it'll push mine down. If you subscribe to other channels and stuff, it might have pushed mine down the feed a little bit.
Right.
As well. So I try not to subscribe to some channels because what it'll do is, man, it'll take my feed over and start pushing just that to me, and I won't get to see the channels I want. So
yes. Yeah,
JD Wilmoth says, so I don't feel too old. Oh, JD Wilmoth, he's heard of Morgan Mindy. But he said, you're right, I'm showing my age. I'm going to have to color my beard. Because, Nick Beard, he gives me a hard time about coloring my beard, so I'm going to have to color my beard.
Man, I've thought about it because I'm getting a little bit of gray in mine, only in this one spot. And I don't care if the whole thing is gray. I just don't want patchy. And I've thought about putting some of that shit, that shampoo, where you just shampoo with it like a couple times a week. And, keep your beard and your hair darker. But I don't want to look like Ohio State's head coach where he's got one of those it looks like he's got a Sharpie. It's like somebody drew his beard on with a Sharpie. I don't want it to look like that. But at some point, I don't want it to be patchy neither. The more this comes in gray, I mean, right now, when I trim it, you can't really tell. But once it grows out for a few days, it's a gray spot in that one area. Mine gets on my nerves.
Mine's always gray right here, but I don't get no gray right here. So it's just crazy, man. I don't know. We got a $5 donation from Big Cojones. Kelly says, I stand corrected. Kyle Field is the biggest now at 102,733, and Tiger Stadium is 102,321. So Texas A&M has the biggest field.
By 11 or 12 seats? They did that shit on purpose, dude.
They got about 500 seats, somewhere along in there. Fred
Bagley. Oh, it is, yeah, 500 seats. you got to understand these some bitches are about a 16th of an inch, maybe a 32nd of an inch. The numbers that I'm looking at because I'm on my phone, it looked like it was like I didn't see one was a 7 and one was a 2. It looked like they were both 2s.
Fred Bagley says when you don't get the notifications from me, all you got to do is go in and redo the notification bell on the page, and it'll move up on your list.
That's a good idea, yeah. Undo it and then click it again, yeah. That's what I need to do, because I clicked on yours dude. It's probably been almost 2 years ago now. Whenever it was when you first started. Well, no, it has been over 2 years, actually. Because it was when Lincoln Riley, when Shithead left. That's right around the exact same time I started seeing your videos and subscribe.
He's had the same problem. He said when you drop a video, you're right. It doesn't take much for woke tube to get their panties in the wad. Yeah, they're probably red flagging me just for saying that.
Oh God, I know.
I've thought about going to Rumble, man, but I don't know if I can make money over there. I can make money. I'm making money over here, so not a lot of money.
Yeah,
I'd have to start over, and I just don't know if I got the oomph in me to do that.
Right. Yeah, it's tough, man. Man, I know there was something else, dude, I was wanting to talk about, but I feel like we went over most of it. I know we already talked about the USC thing. They're delusional, thinking that it's just NIL. Like, they're not looking at the fact.
You was telling me that USC jackass or USCJ, whatever his name was, he was saying some shit about why it wasn't Lincoln Riley's fault and that kind of shit.
Yes. He's like, it's not Lincoln Riley. You could tell he was getting upset about it. It's not Lincoln Riley's fault. It's not. He's like, it's NIL. And he said, NIL is NIL. Lincoln Riley is not the problem. NIL, it's like, bro, who told you it was NIL? If I had to guess, what happened is probably USC offered money, Ohio State offered money, Texas offered money. They probably all three offered him a good enough amount of money where he was like, that part was fine.
Yeah.
And then when it comes down to it, you want to, I think, and then when it comes down to that, I think he looked at, okay, Ohio State's defense was ranked top 5 in the country. I don't know what Texas's defense was ranked, but I know it was a hell of a lot better than USC. So if it come down to those three, and I don't even think USC was even, like, if he had I haven't watched the video, but I don't know if he was one of them guys that had like 3 hats sitting there. But if I had to guess, he probably didn't even have a USC hat sitting on the table. If I had to guess, I haven't seen it yet. I don't think they were even.
USC fans will say that y'all didn't out-recruit them for a player because their hat won't be on the table. I'm like, that's just because y'all didn't make the top 5. Y'all were recruiting them. Y'all were absolutely recruiting them, and you just didn't make the top 5 for kids in your own state. And Alabama went and got some guy right out of their backyard. It's right there in Los Angeles, a suburb of Los Angeles. So he can't even win the city anymore. So, I mean, it's awful, man.
Didn't Bryce Young also come from California too?
He did.
Yeah, I could have sworn. Yeah, that's another one out of their own backyard. But yeah,
they said they were going to build a wall, right? He said he was going to build a wall out in California or something. Like that.
Yeah, and he said that, and even a lot of the USC fans, it's amazing how their tone has changed since Lincoln Riley. Because when he first took over, it was, we're going to build a wall around California. Now we have a real coach. And I even remembered hearing them say, I can't wait to see these players now that we've got real coaching, because the way they thought is like, dude, our talent that we have out here in California and the talent that we have on our roster every year is so much better than Oklahoma's. And, man, I can't wait. If he did that kind of recruiting and he could go to the playoffs with Oklahoma, imagine what he can do at USC. And I don't think they've realized, and that was the other thing they were coming out with is, these recruits, it's because they just don't know how good our coaches are and blah, blah, blah. No, Dan Lanning and Kalen DeBoer, Brent Venables, pick your, insert any coach you want. Lincoln Riley has made it easy to recruit against him. There's a million different things. I could go into a recruit's house right now and I could there's several different things I could say to out recruit him and convince a kid to come play at my school.
And I may be incorrect in saying this, and if I am, y'all correct me. But I don't see any USC defensive players going really high in the NFL draft, if at all. That's another thing. You got to be able to go to bat with. You got to be able to show numbers where your players are going to the NFL.
Yes.
If you can't show that, then they ain't going to play there. They're going to think your system sucks, and it's not going to push them where they want to be. Because let's face it, it's not about academics anymore. It's like when they start that stupid-ass AAU shit, and I tell the kids and all them, they get mad at me because they're like, well, you're trying to say academics ain't important anymore. I'm not saying I don't want people to take academics seriously. I'm just saying that in the grand picture of things, the way it's going now, it's not that important. I'm just calling the truth. It's not about academics anymore. It's just not.
I agree, and it damn sure ain't when you're talking about a 5-star defensive lineman that plans on going to the NFL in 3 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're coming that kid to it's just like their trade. That's just like their major. They want to major in football. And there's nothing wrong with that because it's offered at the university, just like a chemistry or a business degree is offered. They want to major in football. That's their thing, man. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's not a slight at you academically. It's just that's what they want to do in life.
Right. Yeah, I know. I think USCJ may have finally changed his tune a little bit, and I think he may have finally said, okay, maybe this was a football season. Maybe, and the thing about Ohio State's taking
shit left and right.
Yes, and they are putting players into the league. I mean, they put a lot of players into the NFL.
That's right.
And they have that track record of doing that. If I was that kid, I would damn sure pick Ohio State over USC and Texas. And it's not – and, I mean, I know that sounds funny because, well, duh, Johnny, you don't like Texas or USC. Dude, if USC or Texas was doing what – like Ohio State, I know they haven't won the championships that Alabama's won, but they've won some championships. And they're raw. Hell, dude, they were this close. If they beat what was it, the year before last?
They almost beat Georgia.
Yes, they were this close to winning one just a couple years ago.
That wide receiver got injured. That wide receiver was eating them up.
Yes.
I can't remember his name now. His daddy's real famous too.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
That's it. Marvin Harrison Jr. was eating them up, man.
And he got injured. Yeah, if they don't lose him, but that comes back to what I was saying with the OU deal. Like, hey, if we don't lose DeMarco Murray that one game, and we don't lose, and Jason White ain't hurt, we have a couple more, but we don't because of that. That's right. Yeah, Ohio State was this close just 2 years ago, and I mean. Every year, dude, they have a good team. I've been watching college football like religiously since I was about 10, and I'm 36 now, almost 37. I have never seen Ohio State have a shitty team that couldn't win 10, 11 games. Like they've always just been a good, solid team.
You're always gonna have that one season that's an outlier. What was that guy's name? That was the head coach of Ohio State with the bow tie.
Let's see. You had Jim Tressel.
That's it. Jim Tressel. When he left that year that they got put on probation, they did go 6-6, but that was an anomaly because they ended up coming back the next following year and won like 10, 11 games. So, yeah.
That's right. That is the one bad season that I've seen them have, and they were in some trouble. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, they've been pretty solid.
Maurice Clarett situation, I can't remember.
Right. And hell, no, I know you're not a fan of them. I'm not either. But even Georgia, I'm not a fan of Ohio State neither. But I respect the teams that are good, and I can tell you do too. I mean, you're not going to just shit on a team that's good. You'll admit a team's good when they're good too. But Georgia, they've been pretty damn good most of the time. Even when they had what was his name, Rick. Mark Rick?
Yeah, Mark Rick.
Mark Rick. They wasn't on the level of like Florida and Alabama was really good like in the beginning of Nick Saban, it was like Florida and Alabama in the beginning that it come down to those two. But Georgia, they wasn't quite on that level, and they for the longest time could not get over. They had an Alabama problem. They still kind of have an Alabama. I mean, they lost to Alabama last year in the SEC championship.
That's right.
And then they lost to Alabama the year Bryce Young lit their ass up. Was that 22?
Yeah. The year that they won the national title, the year they won their first national title in like 40-something years, they beat us for the national championship, but our entire wide receiving core was gone, which sounds like an excuse, but it really was. And because, like you said, we lit them up in the SEC title game. We actually beat them the year they won the national title. We was their only loss. So they're 1-8 against Alabama last 9 games. People don't realize that because the games are so close. You think it would be a little more even, but it's not. We're 1-8 against Alabama. It's like you said, they've got an Alabama problem. Whenever we play them in a big stage, we get in their head sometimes, and it's hard for them to get over, I guess.
It reminds me of the Oklahoma-Texas deal. If you asked fans, hey, what is Georgia's record over Alabama the last 9 games, they would not think that. I guarantee you. People automatically just think that, Georgia's here and Alabama's a little behind them right now, because it was Alabama and then Georgia, and now Georgia's starting to become that team that everybody just assumes is at the top. And Texas is the exact same way with Oklahoma. If you ask people like, hey, can you guess what the record is between Oklahoma and Texas the last 8 games? They probably wouldn't be able to believe that OU has beat them 6 of the last 8 times. And I'll be honest with you, I knew that Alabama has had a good record, but I didn't realize they were like 8 of the last 9. I didn't realize it was that much of a difference.
Yeah, it's crazy. When I first saw it, I had to take a double look. I'm like, damn, man, that's correct. They've only beat us once, and that was that national title game in the same year that we beat them. So, they got an Alabama problem. I think it's in their head, to be honest with you, because they got the talent to beat us. They could have easily won a lot of those games. Mark Richt had that game where we stopped them at the 5-yard line when we went on to play Notre Dame and beat the shit out of them. That Alabama-Georgia game was basically the national title game in 2012. So if Alabama hadn't been there, Mark Richt would have probably won a couple of national titles, and Kirby Smart never goes to Georgia.
Right. Yeah, they're definitely.
I think I'm about to shut it down here. Is there any way you can give me? You still pushing your channel?
Oh yeah, man. I've put a couple videos, man. My brother's kind of been like not. I'm gonna have to have my son help me do the editing and stuff. I'm only good at talking football. I'm not good at editing videos and all that. So my brother was the one doing all that. Well, now I'm kind of like my brother will still come on, but I'm gonna have to. I want to keep the channel going when football season gets here, but yeah, it's Sooner Magic Bros. And my brothers come on with me. Both of them do sometimes, but a lot of times it's going to either just be me or it'll be me and my brother. Sometimes I'll have my son doing the editing on them. My little middle schooler, man. I wish I knew how to edit videos like him. He's actually pretty good. The one video where I had 10,000 views, which is our channel, I don't understand how one video can have 10,000 views and then another video can have less than 100. But it's literally been that way with our channel. But it was because my son did a good job editing the video, and he's the one who put all the tags in it. Like he tagged all the right,
And my son does some stuff for me too. My son actually does the clips for me when I put like live clips in here. There's a program you can use to sort of wash it. So they won't red flag it, because normally if you put a clip in there, they'll try to, demonetize the video. But there's there's a program where you can wash it, and then you can put it in there and not get red flagged, and you get the money for it. So, I have to take some notes from my son too, so don't feel bad.
Right. See, those are things I know nothing about, but my son does. He's pretty good at it, man. I really wish he was a little more in the football. He's big time into the music. He's just like I was when I was a kid. I've been playing on stage with my dad's bands, even like since I was 6, 7 years old. Well, my son has been the same way. He's been playing. He played the Whiskey a Go Go with me the second time. He's been on TV and shit, and he's a really good drummer. He's been playing, since he was a toddler, like me and my brother have. And so he does more like music YouTube channels and stuff, but he's also getting pretty good at guitar, pretty good at bass. He's a real talented musician. He'll be 13 here in about a week. Next week is his birthday, but he's getting really good at music and good at YouTube and stuff. But yeah, I told him. He said, "Dad, how can I make some money?" I'm like, "Well, you know what? I got an idea. You can do the editing on my videos." And all of a sudden, because when I don't, like, if I'd ask him, he'd be in the middle of, like, playing drums or guitar, playing a video game. He didn't want to, oh, man. But then when I tell him I'd offer him some money, oh, yeah, now he's all about it.
That's right.
Hey, there's 2 things that really motivate a man. One of them rhymes with wussy, and one of them is money.
That's right. Also,
2 things that motivate a guy.
Also, before we get out of here, you just plugged your channel. Would you like to plug maybe your band or your web? Do you have a website for your band or anything?
Yeah, it's Next Halen, and it's Van Halen tribute band. So yeah, I don't look like this. You'll be like, what the hell? These guys look like 80s rockers with the hair and everything. Yeah, we do. We got the ridiculous craziness clothes that Van Halen wore. That's what we wear also, especially my singer. But yeah, it's a Van Halen tribute band, Next Halen. We don't look like Van Halen. The bass player and the singer does kind of, but we do our best to sound like Van Halen. But yeah, Next Halen. We got shows Oklahoma City, Lubbock.
Website?
Yep. I think we have some people that do our that's helped out with our social media.
Mostly.
Well, on Facebook is the best way. I want to say we have an Instagram also, but most of the people, I mean, you gotta figure it is that Facebook. Like most of us that listen to Van Halen are on Facebook and YouTube, so those are the 2 main areas where we're at. Where we have the most followers anyway. Facebook, we have the most followers. And all of our events we post on Facebook. But yeah, Mocklahoma, that's going to be a really cool show coming up. And then there's one in Chickasha. It's going to be really cool. Harley Davidson World in Lubbock, Texas. That one's not going to be till September. And then we have another one in Conroe, Texas coming up. But yeah, pretty much. It's going to be cool. It's that time of year where I get to go out and play shows, and my brother's the bass player, the one that was on Sooner Magic Bros with me.
Wow.
He's the bass player in the band. He looks a lot like Michael Anthony. He kind of looks like a combination between Michael Anthony and Wolfgang Van Halen. He kind of looks if you went and seen Van Halen and they had Wolfgang, then you'd be like, oh yeah, he looks like the bass player Wolfgang that I seen. But if you went and you seen Michael Anthony, you look at him and you say, yeah, he kind of looks like Michael Anthony. So my brother may be the only guy in the band that really looks quite a bit like the guy he's supposed to be.
That's right.
And then my singer, he's kind of the same way. He looks like a combination between Sammy Hagar and David, but we pretty much just only do David Lee Roth. And the truth is, most fans only really like the David Lee Roth Van Halen. Like there's,
right.
You know what I mean?
Maybe one day I'll get out to get to see a show where y'all in it, and we can take some pictures, and maybe I can get some autographs from you.
Definitely, dude. Do a live video on the bus, on the tour bus.
That's right. All right, brother. I appreciate you being on here with me.
Absolutely.
So I guess you already it's Sooner Magic Brothers, right? Is that what it's called?
Yep, it's Sooner Magic Bros.
All right.
But Yeah, I'll be doing videos again on there. I did one live video just to test it out, but I didn't put any tags in it. And so I need to also figure out how to transfer it from a live and then make it where it's now on one of the regular videos.
That's right.
Because I'm subscribed on my own like regular page. Like we do that on the laptop, and then I have my just regular YouTube on my phone. So on my regular phone, I'm subscribed to my own channel.